Hello guys and welcome to Watching Time. I'm going to be doing today a review on this very much anticipated new lunar pilot by Bulova. The lunar pilot, just a little bit of history here, has been probably one of the most recognized Bulovas, I can say, because of the history that's behind, because of this relationship with NASA, with lunar landing and moon traveling. So pretty much similar or the same to the Speedmaster from Omega. The story tells also that at the time that Omega was supplying NASA with watches for the lunar missions, obviously several brands were tested by NASA, and at the end of the day, it's the Speedmaster, the one that won all the tests and seemed to be the most reliable. Even so, the pilot, Scott, I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was Dave Scott, yes, in 1971 in the Apollo 15 mission. He had some of the Bulova prototypes. A big difference from the Bulova watch and the Speedmaster was the Bulova watch was sporting one of the newest, at the time obviously, high frequency quartz movements, and the watch was and up to today that you will find the lunar pilots, it presents itself with these high frequency quartz movements that Bulova has developed. It's very much interesting because I don't love quartz, but high frequency quartz, definitely I am onto that. There is a mechanic, there is a difficulty around it that it's, and I think at least takes quartz, normal quartz, into another level. And in the case of the lunar pilot, it was quite interesting that it actually was part of history when in this Apollo 15 mission, the Speedmaster, as at least the tales tell, broke. It seems like the glass broke from the watch, and the pilot was wearing as a backup this lunar pilot, Bulova, so they ended up using the Bulova to calculate precisely all the chronometering measurements that they needed to re-enter the atmosphere. We can say from one side of the story probably that this watch saved the crew a lot of trouble and let them re-enter the atmosphere in very safe conditions. So it made its history, and I will show you guys the oldest lunar pilot model here. As you can see from the back case here, it has free missions or free data that you want. The Apollo 15, so this is the Dave Scott 1971, the Eva free from August 2 1971, and Hadley really Apennines with a latitude here that I suppose is the point of landing of the watch. I don't remember exactly, I am guessing here what that means. But anyway, this is the oldest model. When I first bought this watch, I also have the Speedmaster in the collection. So for me, having both of them was important. Both of them has a history. One of the things that I didn't love of the lunar pilot was the size. So this is a 45 millimeters. This is the oldest version, and it wears very, very big in any wrist. Even if the lag to lag is quite reduced on these watches, it's still going to be wearing big. It's fine, you can pull it off in most situations, definitely, but it is something that might make a lot of small wrists afraid of it. So what has Bulova done now? They have actually released a new version of it at 43 millimeters, and most people will say, well, 2 millimeters less, what's the sense on that, especially on a market today that it's reducing its sizes. We're going back to the smaller cases, we're going back to the 60s, we're going back to 38, 36 cases for males, So why Bulova didn't just throw out a 40 millimeters case and they went for a 43? Wouldn't it make much sense to actually reduce it even more? So the reason behind the 43 is that 43 millimeters was the original lunar pilot, the one that was actually worn in 1971. So what they have done here historically is actually make the watch much more precise and concise to the historic piece. You have the logo obviously here, Bulova, that it's pretty much the same, almost in alter from the 70s. You just have a smaller case. How much more? Well, you can see it from yourself, guys. There is a difference that is going to be definitely felt in your wrist, but it's not a big difference at the end of the day. Both watches are going to be wearing higher. Probably here in profile you can see better the 2 millimeters that they took. So definitely this is something that is going to be bringing almost to perfection the size of the Lunar Pilot. Another good point that I find on the new Lunar Pilot respect to the old one also has a stainless steel bracelet, but it's all brush. So what we have here is a semi-brush, semi-polish bracelet and case in points that actually makes it look smaller, because as you can see, the light that is going to be reflecting from the polish case respect to the brush one, it's different. And these corners, as you can see here under the camera light, are darker because of the polishness of it and how it's reflecting darker areas. So it actually makes the watch looks much smaller. On this one that you have the brush endings on the case, it is not working the same. You have the full appreciation of the case and it just doesn't seem any smaller. So actually, if at all, it looks a little bit bigger. So definitely the brushing and the polishing areas of this new Lunar Pilot 43, so it's going to be helping to reduce the size. You will see also that you have a middle link that is going to be polished, and this brings a little bit of elegance to wearing the Lunar Pilot. Still a double release clasp here. It works very well, and it's quite easy to fit because it's just a pin bracelet, so you can very easily take them out and put it back together. What else can I say? Something that some of the comments that I received was, what do you think about the pushers? The pushers are blue. Why didn't they just did a stainless steel pusher or a matte? Well, no, in this case it's also polished. Just, why blue DLC polish? I don't really know. I also had my doubts about it. I still have my doubts about it, especially when I see it under these lights, that the blue is much more important. The good thing is that it's so dark sometimes and it's polished that it just blends with the darker areas of the polished part and you tend not to see it. The other thing is that while you're wearing it, you're going to be tending to having the watch in this position, and actually the pushers, even if they are blue, you tend not to see them and they kind of disappear into the shadow of your arm. It is a weird thing, but if you have trouble with the blue pushers, don't worry, you are not going to be seeing it. I can definitely tell you this. The rest of the colors, I think these are very nice. Especially this blue white dial. The white dial is texture, so you're going to find kind of it reminds me a little bit of the moon and the craters, or to the snowflake. It is a very nice texture dial, and the rest of it is obviously blue, which if you see it from afar, it reminds me a lot to the newest Snoopy Speedmaster, the one with the blue accents and white dial. So this is kind of the Snoopy Bulova version But it's fine, it's fine. It reminds me a lot. They can play with the same colors. It has this particular colorway is totally new, so it has no history, but it's the same with the Speedmasters. The only one that has a history is the Speedmaster Professional with the black dial. Everything else, it's just marketing. So what do you think, guys? What do you think about this watch? I am really enjoying the new 43 millimeters. I have to say that it wears much better than the 45, and definitely this colorway is going to be making me use the watch much more than usual. Okay, see you in the next video. Hope you like it, and until then, please take care.